So let's get it popping with the fantasy football predictions for 2025. So we're talking about fantasy football tonight. So this is just for entertainment purposes only. It is not. Please do not go out and bet your mom's and your family's kung fu grip on all of the fantasy football we're going to talk about tonight. Fantasy football is fun. So we're going to focus on, as we always do, how Ravens are going to do in fantasy football as well. Some changes. Ravens are fantasy football for the longest time. Defense, kicker, some other things, some offense. Maybe you got a running back. This is a loaded, strong fantasy group for the Baltimore Ravens this year, all over the field. So if you take a lot of Ravens, you're going to have a good offense for your fantasy team as well. Interesting to see who is a better fantasy year. Obviously, at the top, Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. So that's going to be interesting. We're going to be talking about that as well. Obviously, now we talk about it here. I know a lot of you do daily fantasy, keeper leagues, and all that other stuff. The leagues are different, so it depends on that. Some people do 10-team, 14, 16, all that other stuff. For me, for the purposes of this, just to give the fans an idea, to give you guys an idea, 10-team league, right? 10-team league and 10-team league, and we're going to give you an idea of where guys should be drafted in the league. So when you see Lamar, Derrick Henry, obviously they're early. For certain guys, maybe you want to keep an eye on some guys if they're Ravens or things like that. And I know this, and people don't like to admit this. Some people like to take their team like a lot. So obviously it helps because this is your team and you're the most familiar. Obviously, a lot of you here are Raven fans or whatever. You're obviously the most familiar with your team. So you want to know where to take guys or take guys. Maybe you could steal a guy or maybe you have a thought of a guy, etc., as well in your draft. So let's see how you do here. I used to be a good fantasy player a long time ago. At the top, of course, our fearless leader, Lamar Jackson. Lamar, I think, is probably going to be QB 1 or 2 in a lot of the leagues. You're going to see Lamar Jackson and you're going to see Josh Allen taken first off the board. So I know you take running backs higher. Lamar and Josh are special because they actually run the football a lot. So you're going to get a lot of rush yards with them, obviously. It's going to be interesting. I think kind of like what I used to say for the longest time with Justin Tucker. A lot of kickers, you have the philosophy, take kickers in the last round and all that other stuff. But if you want to take the number one guy, it's always a little bit higher because it's always maybe a round and a half higher because you want to get the guy earlier. So Lamar is going to go higher in some drafts than I think he's going to be in the second round. I don't know if he's going to go in the first round in many drafts. Probably round 2, round 3 if you want Lamar in a 10-team league. Probably if you're in a 16, probably 12, 14, 16-team league. Probably in the first, second round for sure. I don't think he's going to go much later than that. I don't think Lamar goes past 30 usually in a lot of drafts. A lot of the listings is going to have him in the top 40 or 50. Most of the time, it's going to be around there where you take him. He's QB 1 to 3. Him, Josh Allen, maybe Mahomes still in some drafts might be top 1 or 2, might be ahead of Lamar. But Lamar, from what I've seen, and a lot of them is going to be QB 1. So about second round value in a 10-team league, Sarah in a 14 league, but you may have to take him earlier because I think somebody's going to try and grab him early in the draft. Derrick Henry, great value. Congratulations last year if you took Derrick Henry because certainly you could get him in the fourth round or fifth round. That is not going to happen this year, right? He's going to be a top 10, 15 player, 15 to 25, I think, overall. I think even that's generous. I think maybe his age might scare some people from being a little bit higher. I think that's probably why he's a little bit lower. Probably he's overall second, third round. Running backs are going to go early off the board in a lot of drafts. They're going to go early off the board in a lot of drafts. So you're going to have to take a Derrick Henry pretty early. So you're going to see a lot of guys there. Is he top 2, like 3, like Lamar? No. You're going to have Saquon ahead of him. You're going to have McCaffrey ahead of him. You're going to have B. John Robinson ahead of him. You're going to have a couple other guys ahead of him. He's around 8 to 12. Why? Because he's 30 years old. That's probably the main reason why you're going to have him there. But again, in his case as well, it wouldn't shock me if he was a little bit higher. Wouldn't shock me if somebody took a Derrick Henry in the first 2 rounds, or somebody took Derrick Henry in the first round, 10-team league, 12-team league. Doesn't matter. Interesting. Lamar and Derrick Henry are going to be wild cards here. I think they're going to be higher value maybe than you're going to see on the boards, on the list, ESPN, Yahoo, DraftKings, whatever. You're going to see them a little bit higher on those boards than you would think in some places, but definitely you're going to see them at somebody, they're going to be drafted high. Justice Hill, 13 to 15th round in the draft. I think, like, if your draft is in July, which is too early, in my opinion, you shouldn't take Justice Hill. You absolutely shouldn't take Justice Hill. For the most part, he's going to be undrafted, 200-plus overall player. Do look at, though, with Justice Hill, what happens in training camp, if he can unseat Keaton Mitchell, if he's going to be the guy that's going to get most of the carries. It could be more interesting to him, take him in a late 13 to 15 as well. A lot of backs are going to go early, so if you can grab a Justice Hill who's productive late or whatever, might be worth doing there as well. Didn't have Keaton Mitchell as well. I think he's undrafted either way. I think even if he takes it as well, I don't think he's going to I doubt very seriously he's going to be on the draft board high at all. Zay Flowers, round 3 to round 5. So you're going to see a lot of running backs and a lot of drafts early, and nowadays wide receivers early. So wide receivers are going to be early. Flowers is not a top 10 receiver, I don't think, at least listed as far as fantasy production quite yet. 3 to 5, that's about the range where you're going to see him. So you're going to see a lot of running backs, obviously. You're going to see a lot of wide receivers, obviously. 45 to 55, I think, overall, you're going to start seeing his name when you see all the names there, like Zay Flowers. He's a top 20, 25 wide receiver. That's good. He's a number 1 receiver on a very good offense as well. I think, again, he could be drafted higher. I don't think, like Lamar and Henry, team players are going to go out of their way to go out, and when you're in your draft, to take a Zay Flowers. They'll see him there, but I don't think teams will go out of the way. I think he's going to go about right there where he should a lot of times. Should be productive. We know he's going to have 1,000 yards, I think, if healthy. Interested to see Bateman, might be worth taking a chance on. They're paying him, right? I said this, you go out and buy a new car, you're going to drive it. You go out and buy a new house, you're going to live it. You're going to go ahead and buy something new. They spent $13 million on Rashard Bateman. They're not going to just not throw the ball. So how much is that now in the Ravens offense? That's very, very interesting. So he's not going to get drafted as high, about 13 to 15. I've seen him a lot in the 160, 180 area. Interesting. I think in a keeper league, he'd be good too, right? So maybe you can steal a Rashard Bateman if you have a league and you already have him, or you need to draft a guy and you have to keep for a couple of years, draft him. Interesting. I think Bateman is very, very fascinating in that sense. 55 to 70, a strong go, 55 70. Some drafts, he's going to go much higher, I think. Somebody's going to take a chance on Bateman, but it's going to be interesting to see his production. His production may not be above 700-800 yards as well. DeAndre Hopkins, 13 to 15 late. I think for sure he's going to get overdrafted because of his name value. I don't know if he's going to be more of a third receiver. Again, if you're drafted in August, he might have a lot of value because you want to keep an eye on that training camp, see if he has a good training camp and all that, etc. With DeAndre Hopkins, see if there's any injuries there as well for him. See if he can stay healthy. But I think he's a third receiver, worth very late, worth taking a late. I've seen him about in the same range as as Bateman and a lot of the lists, but I think I'm a little less bullish on Hopkins. I think Hopkins is going to be in a third receiver role. See if they use him in the red zone. He has great hands and he's good in the red zone. I think maybe he could be worth. I think this is more of a guy you pick up during the season. Des Walker, I think, is undrafted. I think he's a guy to keep an eye on. I think keep a league only. I think with him, you look at some of these contracts here, probably next year, I think, unless there's an injury, he's not going to have a bigger role until then. Andrews and Isaiah Likely, interesting, because I think there's going to be some real jockeying for position here. I don't know if they're friends. I don't think they're going to stay friends this year. Both of these guys have a contract year. Both of these guys need big-time production to become and get paid in the offseason number one production. Some people are already moving Mark Andrews out the door. Isaiah Likely's never really been a starter, looking to go ahead and get his first big contract. We're going to talk tight ends tonight. That's going to be fascinating there with these guys as well. But I don't think you go wrong with either one. I'm not throwing dirt on Andrews, 25 to 35. Certainly, at least in drafts, when you start early in the year, Mark Andrews is going to be your guy. So I don't think probably at least early in the year. I think as the year goes on, we will see Isaiah Likely. Somewhat possible Isaiah Likely could win the starting job. I don't think that's I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think Likely's certainly a guy going forward. Absolutely, if you're in a league for a keeper, this is the definition of a stash guy, Isaiah Likely. Because if he's not starting for you this year, certainly whether it's Baltimore or wherever it is, he's going to be starting next year for you. So Isaiah Likely is going to get production. The only reason Isaiah Likely is lower 8-9, I think, is because of Mark Andrews. You're not going to get the type of production you are getting from him there with both of them there. So a lot of offensive firepower in this offense. Interesting to see where that goes. Justin Tucker is gone forever and ever. You took Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker, I thought, was one of one as far as a kicker goes. You take him early in the draft. Some people, like I already mentioned, take kickers in the last round. Justin Tucker, he was okay to take him earlier. Tyler Loop, I don't think you draft him. I think you see how it goes. If he is the kicker and was the kicking competition, which we all think he should, I think it'll be interesting to see that. Ravens defense is probably amongst the best in the NFL. So I think there is a chance that it's going to be higher 1 to 5 best defenses. Denver going to be right there as well. You're going to see those, the Broncos a lot there. But the Ravens defense, a lot of people consider it one of the better defenses in the NFL as well. So if you're going to take the Ravens 8-9 round, I think it's not inappropriate for that. Somebody, again, always with kickers and good kickers and good defenses, usually, because I'm saying it because there's a lot of times it's me, breaking that ice and taking that kicker high, taking that defense high. It can matter if you have that one less thing to worry about with kickers and I'm doing a live stream. All right, phone ring. So there you go. And the Ravens. So that's how the Ravens are going to look fantasy football wise in 2025. Interesting to see the tight ends and the wide receivers in terms of their fantasy production. Interesting to see how it shakes out. I think it's going to shake out well for football, Baltimore football in general, but I don't know about fantasy. It doesn't really